not able to be. All right, everybody. We are going to start in about under 1 minute, so thank you, everybody, for preparing.
Good evening, school board, superintendent, and district staff. The time is 6 p.m., August 23rd, 2022, and I call this meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board to order. For roll call, Ms. Stella Camacho is on her way.
Right here.
Oh, got it? Here. Joseph Guerra,
Present.
James Hernandez,
Present.
Mr. Luis Gomez will not be able to join us today. Frank Espinosa,
Present.
Richard Santoyo is on his way. Martha Castellan present. Let the record show that a quorum of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States and Texas flag, and remain standing for a moment of silence, please.
Juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados
de América
la
y la
República
cual
representa
representa
una
una
nación
nación
bajo Dios,
con libertad y todos.
honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, God, one. Honra a la bandera de Texas. Te juro lealtad, Texas. Un estado bajo Dios, uno.
Thank you. Do we have any communication from citizens?
Madam President, we do not have any communication from citizens.
Okay, Dr. Hernandez, you can proceed with your report, sir.
All right, if you'll give me one quick second here. All right, so good evening, everybody. I do want to thank everybody that's in attendance this evening. I know everybody went to great lengths to make it this evening, so we do want to start by acknowledging your effort to be here this evening. The highlight of this evening is that we are going to introduce our leadership teams throughout the district. We have many men and women who are working in our different campuses, offices, departments within the school district. We do want to make sure that we are introducing them in the most formal way this evening. We also are going to be introducing our number one customer in the district, as you can see in that first picture up there. Our number one customer in the district is our student. So we're also going to be highlighting a troop from our school, our Thespian Society team, that's going to be introduced this evening here in the middle of my presentation. So I do want to go ahead and open up the presentation. If you look on the bottom right of the screen, we have adopted as a school district this year 3 areas that we are going to be focusing on. We are looking to rethink at how we do things in the school district, recommit to the work of the school district, and at times, many times, is redesigning the way that we are handling things in terms of how we provide service to our schools. As I mentioned before, our customers matter to us, and although it is something that we are working at developing every day, and that's why I wanted to make it a point to have this discussion here. One, because of the men and women that are here, but also because it's being recorded and it's online. It is extremely important that we remember that the people that come to our schools are important to us, regardless of sometimes we can all have different days, right? Let's be honest, we can all have a different day. But we need to remain to the work of the school district because there are young men and women who choose our schools and who come to our schools with everything that they have with them. So as I mentioned before, part of what I've always tried to do is make the presentations very personable to the folks that work in our schools. And I want to start this evening by highlighting Mr. Abel and Mr. Guadalupe, who work in our district warehouse. We just talked about customer service and what we do in our schools. I know last week at our principals meeting, that was part of the message that I took to the principals, is really making sure that the men and women that are in your front office, you as the principal, the leader of the school, that you're modeling the expectation. You want to make sure that our patrons or our customers are taken care of when they come to the school. And I understand that we may have off days, but the expectation is still the same. That that we treat everyone with the same amount of dignity that we would want for ourselves and for those that we love. And that's extremely important. So although Mr. Abel and Mr. Guadalupe are not here, I did want to highlight their contribution to what we're doing, as well as the individual who highlighted them, because as always, if you send me something or I see something online, you know I'm going to pull it. I may miss a couple of things, but I really work hard at trying to make sure that we give voice and that we give a name to everybody in our school district. The second thing, and I mentioned this earlier, is really getting to know our customers. This young lady was one of our students that I met the first day that we were back in school over at Perales Theme Elementary. And I will tell you, I had a very interesting, as interesting a conversation as you can have with her about what's going on in school. And I don't know about you, but I think right now I think that was Titus that I saw walking around. When I see little people, it still brings a smile to my face. Even though my personal little person is now 21, she's taller than I am, she's 6 feet tall, it still matters to me that our kids get the best that they can in our school. And so that starts with knowing who our customers are and what they need from us when they come to our schools every day. And sometimes that starts with, because I know a lot of our administrators are out in front of the school welcoming their kids. And that didn't start this year, it started many years ago. But as the superintendent, I want to make sure that everybody understands that is an expectation that we have of our schools. As we do that, we always want to make sure that we do it following our 3 core values, that we're professional, that we're accountable, and that we communicate the expectations that we have for our parents in our community, but that also we be open to the expectations that people have for us, because that is part of the work that we do in the school. And so as I've done, and administrators, a lot of you are going to recognize a lot of my pictures, because I like to keep my message very simple and recurring. I started asking 12 people in our school district for every presentation that I do, tell me who embodies the qualities that you see when I talk about commitment. As you're looking up there, I hope you see the men and women's faces you see there and the adjectives that I've used, because they've been very intentional about how I've used them. And out of those 12 people, these were a lot of the responses that I got in return. Whether you are Miss Presley, I had to say Elvis Presley to remember that name. Whether you're Miss Presley at Winston, starting the first school day as the assistant principal because your principal is out, but you're running the school day, or you are Mr. Greathouse, our chief technology officer, who's solutions driven. God knows we've had a lot of work to do with our technology department the last few years. Or you are Officer Stradley, who's one of the most approachable people that I've ever met, to be quite honest. If she's out on a campus, or she's out running in the neighborhoods, or sometimes even if she's going to have to put you into her car, she's very approachable about how she does that too. And so, again, it's really important that we start highlighting people for what they do. I see you, Officer Stradley, there in the back. And so I want to make sure that we highlight them. The other thing I want to highlight is the members of the community who spend their time with us. This was a picture that I took about a week ago on a Saturday. The Valero group from Valero here in San Antonio spent all of a Saturday with over 300 volunteers working at our Girl Scouts building. It's really important that I wanted to bring this message here, because when you walk around and you see people spending their 8 hours on a Saturday, enhancing the building, putting in new tile with decorations for the kids, whether it's working in the Daisy room and making sure there's all sorts of material, or the food pantry, or the gyms, or all the different rooms that we have over at Coronado. And if you've been at Coronado, it's not one of our newest buildings, but it is definitely a building where our girls are getting the attention they need as they grow from being young ladies to grown women. And it's important that we highlight the individuals that come and spend their time with us. So I thought that was a really great day, because we got to, again, continue to build that relationship, as well as the relationship with our United States Air Force in terms of the work that they did to help us open up school over at Performing Arts, at Stafford Performing Arts. And so this was, I don't know exactly how many folks, but from where I'm sitting, it looks like a lot of folks. They spent their day working on the fences, on the doorways, on everything that they could to make sure our building was up and ready to go. And so I want to thank Jonathan Torres, who worked in our PPS department, at setting these opportunities up. He's been doing that since I've been here. I'm going into my 5th year, and I know he was doing it before. And so Jonathan may not be here tonight, but again, I am a firm believer in speaking people's name out publicly. And so I want to thank Jonathan for that support. I also want to make sure that as we are doing this work, you heard me talk about our PAC, the communication piece. Community, recently we had a safety and security town hall where our Chief of Police, Chief Quiroga, and myself presented to the community on what we're doing to make sure that every day that you entrust us with your children, we are making sure that our buildings are as safe and secure as possible. I will reiterate, much of the work that you are now starting to see across Texas is not work that's new to Edgewood. Our school board many years ago took the initiative to create our very own police department. And so we have added, we now have 30 officers. We added more officers this school year, thanks to the support of this board and the recommendation of the administration team. We've now brought more officers, and we have a plethora of information that we are making available to our community, to include our Chief of Police is now going to be doing quarterly informational videos so that they're out on our website and so that our parents and community can see what was happening in our schools. We're also going to continue having town halls around the conversation about safety and security. We'll have one formal one in the spring. We're also going to have our neighborhood pláticas again out in the neighborhood. And so our first one, I believe the month of September, is at Cisneros Elementary. And so look forward to hearing that, attending that, and I'll have more dates for everybody at our next regular board meeting. So I'm excited about getting back out into the neighborhoods because we had a good time doing that the first time. We're going to start doing that again. But I want to play a really quick video on what we're doing, because I don't know if everybody saw this, in terms of the safety and security of our schools. Joey, if you'll play that.
My name is Sergeant Veronica Riffle, and I am the administrative sergeant here at the police department, and I am also in charge of the safety and security for the district. We have live feed throughout the campuses, so all our dispatches are able to monitor throughout the day who's coming in and who's leaving, and be able to see the perimeter and the interior of the schools. We also have been doing the audits to make sure that everybody is in compliance, and that's every single campus throughout the district. We're also making sure that all the fire extinguishers work throughout the school. We're also making sure that all the medical kits are available throughout the schools, through every campus. So we constantly need to make sure every year that they're not expired. The training that we do throughout the year would be, we practice the lockdowns. They're required 2 per year, but we do 4 per year. So we practice with lockdowns. We also practice with evacuations, like on fire drills. We also practice lockouts. So we practice those throughout the year, a little bit more than usual. We also practice active shooter. We do training throughout the district with our police officers on our own campuses. And we also have a very good rapport with SAPD in the event of an active shooter. So we practice together so that way everybody is aware of the floor plans for our campuses when responding. We work 365 days a year. We never close. Our phones are always open, and you can call dispatch at any time. We also have a safe line where they can call anonymously. We have that listed on our district website. We'd like all the students and staff in the community that if they see something, to please say something, to go ahead and call dispatch, and we will have somebody dispatched if you have a concern or if you see something.
All righty, so we'll go ahead and continue with the report. We can get back to the presentation. While he's doing that, you'll also probably notice this evening that as of today, we are also starting to wand folks as you come into board meeting. Some of you might have gotten wanded this evening, but that is a practice we are going to start instituting. It's just a good practice for visibility, but we are starting to do that, so I wanted to make that notice available. We're also going to be putting up signage and things, but that is moving forward. We will be wanding folks as you come into our board meetings, just to, again, continue with the idea of the safety and security of our school district. This is one of our district buildings as well. I also wanted to bring up, so speaking of safety and security, our board motioned a year ago, on September 21st, a year ago, board approved a recommendation from administration to bring the enterprise agreement, enterprise car. Most of you probably rented a car from Enterprise. So I didn't know this before that approval, but every year Enterprise, a lot of those vehicles that they're putting out, a lot of companies will come in and buy fleets of vehicles. I didn't know that. And so we just happened to be a district that needed to upgrade many of our facilities. been in, I mean, our vehicle. You've been in our school district. You've probably seen a lot of our vehicles, and I mean, they're not the newest vehicles. But as of today, as of this week, you're going to start seeing new police vehicles. Next board meeting, I'm going to be bringing pictures of our new technology vehicles too. We are expecting more vehicles to start streaming into Edgewood. I want to thank the board for a year ago allowing us to make this considerable purchase. I want to thank the administration team also for bringing that recommendation up. But much like everything else, you're probably thinking, wow, it's almost September. It took a year because Enterprise 2 has supply and demand, just like everybody else. And so this is a promise kept because the board approved it. And I just wanted everyone to know. And of course, I don't see our lieutenant in here, but this is part of the work that the lieutenant is doing in terms of the work that he is making sure his officers are in the best vehicles possible and protected. That's part of the work of the lieutenant. Lieutenant Gonzalez, I see you back there, Lieutenant. So thank you, sir. And so I'll keep moving us right along. I also want to acknowledge the hard work of our financial team led by Ms. Pamela Bindley over on the side. Our school district has now, for the 6th year in a row, received the Superior Achievement on its first rating. This is the financial rating of the school district. And so this is now 6 years later, and we are still receiving a Superior Achievement for the accountability. We do have an independent accountant that comes in, a company that comes in and audits all our books. And so this is achieved every year. So I do want to thank, and I know some of them are here, so let's give them a round of applause. I want to go ahead and bring up our first group that we're highlighting this evening. So I want to ask all of our students that are here from the International Thespian Excellence Awards, our folks, if you could please come to the front. Ms. Castillo is going to help you guys out. I want to read a little bit about the competition that they came to. So the International Thespian Excellence Awards, or Thespies for short, recognizes the highest level of achievement in school theater performance, technical theater, writing, and filmmaking. Top-scoring students receive superior ratings for various criteria laid out in the rubric, and those who score overall superiors qualify to move on to the next level of Thespy events. Local and regional qualifying events led to the final international round, which takes place annually as the culminating event of the International Thespian Festival, where the highest-scoring students in each category win the Thespy Awards and superior medals. Casey Cerda is the 2022 International Thespian Excellence Award winner for a short film. Casey received a perfect score for his short film Beauty Blending In at the International Thespian Festival. This qualified them as a finalist, where their film received another perfect score. Casey was awarded the Thespy Award for short film Beauty Blending In, documents the journey of a young Latinx makeup artist and their pursuit towards acceptance from their family. You can watch Casey's film, and we'll have the YouTube link to this presentation. Then we also have Athena. Is Athena here? Oh, right. There you go. Athena Martinez is the 2022 International Thespian Excellence Superior Medalist in Costume Design. Athena received the highest rating, Superior, at the International Thespian Festival for her original costume design for Sweeney Todd. Athena presented 5 designs and a design portfolio at the competition. They are one of 20 students internationally to receive a superior rating in this category. Mayra Venegas, here. I'm going to read it anyways. Again, it's important that we highlight our folks. Mayra received the highest rating, Superior, at the International Thespian Festival for her original costume design for Bat Boy. Mayra presented 5 designs and a design portfolio at the competition. She is one of 20 students internationally to receive a superior rating in this category. Then our last student is Jenica Avila. Don't see Jenica. Okay, graduated. So Jenica Avila is also our 2022 International Thespian Excellence Superior Medalist in solo acting. 2022 Academy graduate Jenica Avila also received this rating, Superior, at the International Thespian Film Festival. Our other 6 national qualifiers received the second highest rating, which is Excellent, at the same festival. And I do want to ask that our theater teacher, Ms. Caso, please step up here as well, because every good actor, every good athlete, every kind of student is coached by somebody. And this young lady practically lives here. She's here all the time. And so, yes, let's give them a round of applause. You got it? Okay. And so I do want to put in one plug. That's me. I'm really excited for the future of our school district because we've already had a gem and our theater arts programs. But now this year, we are opening up the Stafford Visual and Performing Arts at the elementary level. So the goal has always been about developing pipelines for our students. And if they can start earlier in school when they're elementary students, then we're going to have a superior, I don't know what's above superior, but the next rating of a fine arts program in our schools, are specifically our acting programs, and all of that goes with it, costume design, set building, all of it. It's really exciting to see that our kids get a start in the elementary, on the middle school. We now have a theater teacher at Stafford. I think I highlighted him on social media, Mr. Trevino, right? Yes, Mr. Trevino, our new theater teacher. So come in and see the 5-year-olds. Right now, I know they're just working on routines, but they are going to get to this point. So again, this is a great move on behalf of administration and the board. The board has always supported our innovative moves of opening up our different performances, our different innovation camps. So thank you to the students and to our teacher also for their wonderful. So we'll move on to the next thing. So all of what I've talked about so far, everything that we're doing, whether it's safety and security, building innovation programs, highlighting our students, highlighting our folks, this has all been about honoring the history of our district. I've been in the district 4 years now. And over the last 4 years, I've met with lots of people who have consistently talked to me about the history of the school district. Whether it was the history in the 80s or the history of the 60s of the walkout, there's always been a very strong support for what the district has stood for. This board has also had very strong conversations about what are we going to stand for moving into the next era. Every set of folks gets to write their own history, a history that hopefully somebody will be telling 30, 40 years from now. And so part of the work that we're doing now, I want to be real intentional about this message. We are continuing to plant seeds for the future. Whether you are a teacher in the classroom, a principal, assistant principal, a board member, one of the directors in our programs, whatever function you have in our school district, you're out running around chasing kids, asking them to come to school, or hunting people down at Peter Piper Pizza. Our family engagement people are doing that right now. It is all about bringing folks back to the district, because many, many times, even when I met people who left the district, their heart's still here. They always talk about how Edgewood used to. Well, somebody needs to be here in 30 years to tell that same story. But right now, this board is evaluating what are the things that we're going to value, what are they going to become? Because we've got to honor the past but build something new. So that's just a little story of what this board is doing, because we spend a lot of time honoring the 5 board superintendent goals. We talk a lot about how we're spending our money. You've heard me say this many times. This year's budget is over $96 million. How we spend that money? We've worked on a vision over the last few years. The Vision 2025. In fact, we're working on Vision 2028 now, the next 5 years as we move forward. And making sure that the board is as best informed as possible. And I always like to give them credit, because in case you didn't know, this is a volunteer job. Nobody here gets a salary for being on this board. Yet they spend many hours with us in workshops, one-to-one meetings, and then, of course, tonight's board meeting. This is a labor of love for them, because every single person up here is a graduate of our school district. So it's important that they also become familiar with the items that you're about to watch them vote on here in a few minutes. And so the items you see here listed are the items that were discussed at our last board meeting. So I'm not going to read all those to you. You see them, and they are going to be in our minutes for tonight. These are all the different items that have been brought up for consent item tonight. So you see them there. They'll be on our website, and then after the board takes motion, we'll continue with how we communicate these through emails and our Excellence magazine that goes out on Fridays. And so that brings me to the next part of our agenda. I want to introduce all the men and women who are the leadership of our school district. It's really important, because I can speak personally. Over the last 4 years, I've been very blessed, happy, proud of what I've seen in our folks. Many of our folks, they really take this work that we do very personally. And I see them bring it in every day to the work that they do. And when we've asked them to flex, they've been honest about, yes, I'm flexing a little too much right now, or it's overwhelming. But they've also come back and kept learning and kept pushing. And so I want to start this afternoon with our first 3 principals. And so our early childhood centers, I want to introduce that staff. So as I call you, please come up. We are going to take one big picture. Our first is our principal at Stafford ECC, Miss Tracy Tolbain, followed by our assistant principal, Miss Sarah Hammond. Sarah, I see you here. As well as our our principal at Cardenas Early Childhood, Miss Tina Garcia. Tina, there you go, Tina. As well as our our assistant principal at Gardendale, or GELP as we call it, Rebecca Mendoza. Are you here, Rebecca? I did not. There you go. Rebecca Mendoza. And then, of course, our principal at Gardendale, or GELP, Manuela Haber. I hope I said that right. Yes? Got it? All right. And so these are our folks at our early childhood centers. And so our picture folks, are we getting a picture? Yes. We're going to get a picture of each group, and then we're going to keep going. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. And I do want to highlight on a personal note, once upon a time, Dr. H came in from a business school and taught his first year. I didn't know what he was doing, and I ended up in kindergarten teaching for a year. And I will tell you, I have a lot of respect for the work that happens in early literacy and the early grades. This is where children, first and foremost, fall in love with literacy, numeracy, but it's also a place where children learn to have self-esteem at those early years. And it's really important, and the work that they do is extremely important to what we're trying to accomplish in our school district. I want to thank them publicly for doing that. I also want to bring up our second group. So our second group is a rather larger group, so I'm going to try to get all this in one breath. First, I want to call both of our principals for our leadership school for boys and our leadership school for girls. I will start with Aida Nunez, our principal at the Cisneros Leadership School for Boys. Our associate principal at our same campus, Mr. Sam Dockery, if you will please come up. Miss Monica Munoz, who is our principal at the Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls. And then, of course, Sylvia Orzabal, who is our assistant principal at the Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls. Dora Urbina, who is our IB facilitator at the Cisneros Leadership School for Boys. I don't know if Dora is here. And then Genevieve Rodriguez, who is our other IB facilitator at the Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls. Are any of them here? No. Okay, and so we will go ahead and take this picture. And this is one of our operator-managed schools, the Texas Council for, me on here, International Studies. Yes, I can't see this. Dr. H needs reading glasses. Is our operating partner for this campus. And so we want to thank them because these are our two campuses that are K-8 schools now. Once upon a time, they were K-5. They are now K-8 schools. And so this came as a direct conversation with parents who wanted to keep the kids in one school for at least 8 to 9 years. And so we were able to accomplish that. And thank you to these leaders. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. The next group of folks, and I'm going to call the rest of our elementary principals. So here we go. So our first principal is from Henry B. Gonzalez Elementary. Ms. Canales, are you here? Itamara Canales, there you go. If you would please join us up. And her assistant principal, Ms. Sylvia Benavides, if you would please join us up, as well as our fellow, Mr. Philip Ariola, if you would please join us. Next, we'll go to Claudia Barrios, our principal at Lomo Park Elementary, followed by her two assistant principals. Genevieve Guerra is our first assistant principal, and then, of course, Dr. Jessica Carrion, who is our other assistant principal. And then we have Ms. Shamia Priestley, followed by her assistant principal, Ms. Marty Nesham. Are you guys here? Yes? And I'm going to keep going to the rest of our folks. We also have Jorge Medrano, the principal at Perales Steam Elementary, and he is here with his two assistant principals, Melissa Machado, our first assistant principal, and Michelle DeMiro, our second assistant principal at the campus. Miss Stephanie Cruz, our principal at Stafford Elementary for Performing Arts, followed by her two assistant principals, Melanie Lopez and Rosie Threaton. You would please join us up on the front, as well as our Weiss Intermediate School of Excellence. This is one of our operator-managed schools with Temusa, Ana Cantu, followed by her assistant principal, Rosalind Presley, as well as our fellow, Miss Sarah Weezar. If you could both please join us as well. Let me keep checking. And Stafford Elementary is also an operator-managed school with Friends of P-Tech. And then, of course, our Roosevelt Elementary Dual Language Academy. And so this is a district-managed school. Our principal is Dr. Ortiz, followed by our assistant principal, Marta Ibel. I'm missing a name. And then Miriam Martinez. Are you here, Miriam? Can't see now. No? Okay. All right. So these are all of our elementary folks. So let's give them a round of applause and get a picture. One point of clarification. For our school at Gelp, the title of our principals are heads of schools, and the same would apply for our two heads of schools at our TCIS campuses too. So Dr. H is still learning those names too. And so I just wanted to have that point of clarification. And of course, yes, I did mention that Tamusa is the partner at Weiss also, and you see the symbol up there. So thank you guys for helping me out. And so I'm going to move on to our middle schools. Thank you, Joey. And so I want to call our three middle school principals up. And so let's start with Sandra Cantu. Sandra? All right, so Sandra is our new principal at Wren Middle School. Yes, let's give her a round of applause. And she is here with both of her assistant principals. Right? Mr. Cano, did I see you here? Yes, Mr. Cano, who is one of our assistant principals. And then our other assistant principal, Ms. Wallace. Yes, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't write that one down. Ms. Wallace is our second assistant principal at Wren Middle School. We'll follow that up with Gus Garcia University School, which is an operator-managed school. And so we have our principal there, Ms. Jessica Husband. If you could please come up, Jessica. All right, let's give her a round of applause. And our assistant principals are Kimberly Wosu, right? All right. Dr. H got that one right. Let's see if we can score 3. Our other assistant principals, and that is, where are we at? It'll help me if I can see your faces. Ms. Borjas, yes. Ms. Borjas, if you could please step up. And then Mr. Pfeiffer. And I remember that it's not Puff Pfeiffer, it's Mr. Pfeiffer joining us. And so this is our administrative team at Gus Garcia University School. And then let's move on to our Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation. This is an operator-managed school also with Friends of PTech. So let's go ahead and start with our principal. I have not seen her. Claudia Sanchez, are you here? Yes, there you go, Claudia. If you can go ahead and come on up. Our first assistant principal is Mr. Boma. Are you here, Mr. Boma? He's not. Oh, he's on his way. Okay. And then Miss Susan. Susan, I know I saw you earlier. There she goes. I can't see it through the crowd. All right, Susan, if you'll come on up. And then we've got one more assistant principal, and I need Mr. Juan Cano. Are you here, Mr. Cano? And that was Mr. Contreras that ran my bad. Yes, thank you. Mr. Cano, there you go, sir. All right. And so let's give them a round of applause. This is our middle school group. Got it? All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our high school folks. Give me 1 second. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with John F. Kennedy High School. So Mr. Frank Ramirez, if you would please come on up. Mr. Ramirez's team consists of, let me put my finger on this, there's a lot of words here. Mr. Philip de la Peña, who is our vice principal at John F. Kennedy, if you would please come on up. Mr. Jermaine Coleman, who's our assistant principal at John F. Kennedy High School, if you would come on up. Ms. Tanya Flores, our other assistant principal at John F. Kennedy High School, if you will come on up. And our CTC, that's our testing coordinator, is Rhapsody Vo. Is Rhapsody here? No. Okay. So this is part of our team. The rest of our team, let's go to our next group of folks. That is Mr. Timothy Vaughn, Dr. Timothy Vaughn from Fine Arts High School. Yes, let's give him a round of applause. There, Mr. Titus there, who's joining us up here. All righty. And then we have our vice principal, Mr. Reynaldo Juarez, who is our vice principal at Edgewood Fine Arts. Thank you, sir. All right. And then I'm also going to ask our new DAEP principal, Mr. Joel Garcia, to come on up. He's also going to be running our DAEP school. So, Mr. Joel Garcia, let's give him a round of applause as he comes up. We'll move right along to Memorial High School. So our Memorial High School principal is Miguel Elizondo. I did see you, Miguel, earlier. If you could come on up. We will start with our assistant principal. Sarah Stewart is our vice principal at Memorial High School. Followed by Rebecca Rogers, our assistant principal at Memorial High School. Garcia, our assistant principal at Memorial High School. And then Annette Guzman, our CTC at Memorial High School. Is that everybody here? And we've got one more person. I don't know if she's here, but I do want to acknowledge our principal at Learn for Life, Miss Chrissy Franco. I don't know if Chrissy's here, but she is also, I want to acknowledge also the work that's being done at Learn for Life. And so Chrissy Franco is our principal on that campus. So let's go ahead and open it up for our picture here. All right, guys, thank you, everybody. And so I'm going to move us right along. To our, and there was the list. Dr. H, his eyes are everywhere, and he didn't look at that list. Our names were up there. And so I'll go to the next thing. And so let's talk about our leadership director. So many times our campuses receive a lot of support from the directors of our that work in our central administration. I'm very proud to say that a lot of our folks are now homegrown. And of course, we've added some folks from outside of our district that are now part of the family, but it is a great idea to always promote from inside. We're always pushing the idea of pipelines, so individuals have an opportunity to move up in the school district. And so you see all the different departments there, but I want to bring up our folks. I'm going to start with Brad Cloud. Mr. Cloud, are you here this evening? This is our Director of Instructional Technology. No? Okay. I'll move right along to Delilah Trevino, our new Special Ed Director. Delilah, I know I heard you earlier, so I know you're here. There you go. All right, Delilah, if you'll come on up. I'd also like to acknowledge our recently doctored former high school principal at JFK, Dr. Graciela Martinez, who is now in support services. If you will come up, Doc. New Director of Counseling, Jorge Garcia, if you would please come on up. Our new Teaching and Learning Director, Ms. Terry Silva, who was our former principal at Perales Elementary. New CTE Director, who used to be our principal at Gus Garcia University Middle School, Dr. Christopher Bland. Our Senior Director of, well, she does a lot of things, but Mary Miller, are you here? Are you in the house, Dr. Mary Miller? Because she oversees a lot of different things. No, she's not here. Okay. But we still want to use her name because she does a lot of quality work for our school district. As well as our other Senior Director, Joseph Rodriguez, who has also been in the district. Also, Mr. Rodriguez, come on up. Of course, our other Senior Director who oversees special ed and counseling is Joe Hinojosa. Come on up, Mr. Hinojosa. All right, I think I covered everybody, yes. So let's get a picture with the group and we'll move on to our next group. And we have another Senior Director, but don't worry, you're towards the latter part of my presentation because I know my folks, they're wondering, you forgot somebody. I didn't. It's at the end. And so, okay, so let's move on to our other side of the house, the business operations side. So I do want to highlight the work that consists with our many individuals on this side of our house. A lot of quality support that our schools receive again, and you see the different areas here. And so I want to start with our first Senior Director, Mr. David Abundes, who is over federal programs. He's in our finance department. So David Abundes, if you would come on up. Our Director of Transportation, who was actually driving before, so we were worried he wasn't going to get here. He was driving a route himself. Mr. Daniel Pina, who used to be one of our principals as well. Mr. Pina, come on up. I also want to highlight our Director of Family Engagement, Mr. George Garnica. If you could please join us up front. Of course, our kids cannot learn in school if they don't have a full belly and if they're not eating. So our Director of Nutrition, Roxanne Ruiz, thank you. If you could please join us up in front too. Just like our kids need to eat, our folks also need to be sustained with learning. And so our Director of Professional Learning, Ms. Tomasina Montaña, if you could please also join us. She works as part of the HR department. well as our newest director in HR, Miss. Did I see you earlier? I know I saw. Yes, Patricia Mendoza. If you could please come on up. She's our new director of recruitment and hiring. Of course, our senior director of HR, Miss Mary Cantu. If you could please join us up in front. And even though he's not here, I do want to acknowledge all the work that Mr. Kepke, Josep Kepke, does for our school district. He is our executive director of business and finance. I don't think he's here tonight, but I do want to acknowledge all the work that he does to support that work. And so let's get a picture of this group of folks. Thank you, everybody. Before I move any forward, I know we had someone step into the room after we've already acknowledged our student group. And so our last student who came in, can you tell me your name? Mayla Venegas. You heard me read her profile. Let me find it. Hold on so I can read it again. So Myra Venegas, right, Myra? Yes, Myra Venegas is our 2022 International Thespian Excellence Superior Medalist. Superior, let's get that right. Superior Medalist in Costume Design. So can you step on up? Or you're gonna get a picture by yourself, and let's give her a round of applause. I wanted to acknowledge her presence in the room. Thank you, and thank you to everybody that texted me while I'm up here that our student came in. Thank you. And so all of the individuals that you met today, obviously are the people who make things happen. Obviously, our teachers do that every day on the front lines, but it also takes a lot of support from everybody that you saw that was introduced. And I did not get everybody because not everybody was here this evening, but I did want to acknowledge these folks' contribution, because going into our 5th year together collectively, the goal has always been about creating a quality education for our students. And so we just want to be a little more clear every year about the work that we're doing in our school district. You know, our school board spends many hours each month coming up with what are our North Star goals in our schools. And so a lot of you have seen the picture on the top left. I'm not going to get too much into the bottom right picture right now, but in the picture on the top left, our North Star goal is that all 16 of our schools that are rated, I say 16 because we have about 19, 20 schools, but 16 of them get rated, is that by 2027, 28, every school will be a B or better. Assuming we're still on the A-B system, but that every school will be at that level. If you look at the bottom, right bottom in the middle, our goal was to get 4 schools to at least a B this year. We've accomplished that goal as a school district. We have multiple schools that also received designation, so we've actually exceeded that goal. And we've dropped the number of schools that were in F status from about 4 years ago. So those kind of conversations need to be had in public and in a very honest format, because ultimately we want to acknowledge the work of our students and everybody, but we do have outcomes that are expected of us, and we need to have those conversations as well. That's a bigger depiction of that same item that I just discussed. But the goal is that next year we'll go up to 6 schools that are a B. Yes, 6 schools that are a B or better. So that means the 4 that are there, we'll need to sustain. We will need to add 2. Now, if we have more than 6, great. And that's the expectation. But I want to be very upfront about what the expectation is of administration and the school board who supports this work. And I want to start with the work that's already happened. So I did talk about 4 schools that received a B or better this school year. And so our schools at Las Palmas, at Lyndon B. Johnson, at Perales Elementary, and at Winston or Weiss were the 4 schools that received a B rating this school year. So I don't know if they're still here, but let's give them a round of applause for that work. I want to acknowledge that we have many schools that received a C, and I think that given the last 2 years and everything that we had before us, those are quality ratings too. But I also want to make sure that we set the expectation in terms of the bar of getting to a B or better in our schools. But that nonetheless, that doesn't mean to take anything away from anybody in the C status. It takes a lot of work to do that, especially over the last 2 years when you were out hunting kids down, calling everybody, using social media. I mean, really just trying to find kids and get them across graduation for our high schools, our middle schools, getting them ready. Remember, kids were out of school for a little over 2 years. And so those are things that we're still dealing with as a school district. But I do want to acknowledge this group as well as this second group. So these are the designation schools. We have Fine Arts, who got 3 designations, and if you'll give me a second, I will tell you what those were. So Fine Arts got designations in social studies and comparative academic growth and post-secondary readiness. Those are high designations from the state that Fine Arts Academy received. Gus Garcia received a designation in mathematics. That's very lofty given that we have a lot of issues right now in the state with mathematics outcomes. And so Gus Garcia University did an excellent job in that area. Memorial High School also received 3 designations for ELA, mathematics, and social studies. Those were the 3 areas that they received their designation. So we're proud of our campus there and what they've achieved. And then Perales STEAM received 2 designations for comparative growth and post-secondary readiness as an elementary school. So let's give them a round of applause. That's great. Of course, all of this happens because leadership is always important. Everything matters, and everything rises and falls on leadership. So it's important that we continue to develop the leaders in our school district. And that brings me to the next slide. I'm gonna do a couple of things here. I'm gonna shamelessly plug our new Aspiring Leadership Academy. We are looking for folks to apply to that Leadership Academy. This academy is gonna happen over, I believe, 6 to 8 evenings once a month. After work hours, but this is for people that are interested in becoming leaders in our school district. And so this will also allow me to call Dr. Butler out on her own up here so we can, she didn't expect this, to come up here. We're going to take her picture. She is our new Senior Director of Leadership. And so she is the person that we have tasked to work directly with those who are coming into the Aspiring Leadership Academy, as well as she coaches all of our 0 to 3 year principals. So if you're a principal who just started, if you read any type of leadership articles and research, the number one reason why people leave administration is because they do not have a support system. And so we wanted to invest and make sure that our new principals have that support system with somebody who is simply there to coach them, not evaluate them, but to coach them. So for all of our APs, thank you, ma'am. So for all our APs who are here and someday your job is to become a principal, that is the support that we promise you and that we expect to be able to give you, because our goal is to once again support you through your growth and make sure that we have the best men and women that are leading our schools as principals, assistant principals, and so on. That is how we're going to achieve that North Star goal by 2027, 2028. And of course, Dr. Butler works alongside our 2 members of our school leadership department, our chief of schools, Travis McElvain, everybody knows Mr. Travis, and our assistant superintendent of school leadership, Dr. Matkins. And those are the 2 individuals that she works with. And so, Madam President, I'm about to close out, but I do want to close like I started this evening. When I started this evening, I said that our customers matter. I want to highlight 2 of the members of our community, Susie Hinojosa and Brenda Segura from Memorial High School, who are 2 of our quality folks in our schools who, at least many of the times I've been there, they always make you feel like you belong to the campus. But it takes these types of individuals to make sure that, our kids feel welcome in our schools. Second, that our parents feel welcome in our schools. Also, that our parents have an advocate. When sometimes, I mean, let's be honest, sometimes our parents, they're not having a good day, right? And so you need somebody that can step in and help them through that moment. And so, again, to the conversation of our customers matter, it takes our people to make that mean something. So I want to thank both these ladies for being at the top of that conversation, and to their principal and their team, because I know they're taking pictures, and I see you guys. But thank you to the rest of our administrators. This is something that is important. It's important because it's the right thing to do. If we're leading with an ethical background, if we're leading with integrity, it's important that we honor our customers. So with that, Madam President, that brings the superintendent's presentation to a close.
Thank you, sir. I want to say that before I go into the statement that I'm going to read to you, I want to say that I'm very excited for all the work that y'all do. We finally get to see more of the leadership in person, get to know y'all. And we know all the work that it takes to do this, but no one can say that Edgewood is not ready for our children. We're ready to serve them, and I'm so excited to see the kind of people that we have working with us. So thank you very much, and I wish you the best of success this coming year, and know that we're here to support you. And let me read to you how. As a community and board members, it is the intent of this body to support the work of the district administration that aligns with the board superintendent goals 1 through 5 with a focus on students, families, community, operational excellence, employee and organizational improvement, and financial stewardship. As a follow-up to the work that's has been doing around the Lone Star governance model, we are taking action on redefining the district's strategic goals that will also include measures to improve two-way communication between the district and our community. I also want to highlight a few items that are being presented in the consent agenda this evening. In his presentation, Dr. Hernandez talked about the new police vehicles that were received. At the September 21st, 2021 meeting, the Board of Trustees approved a lease program for non-student transportation vehicles that included police cars, maintenance vehicles, and other vehicles for service at various departments. In connection to that lease approval, this evening we are voting on an item to repair the parking lot at our maintenance yard in anticipation of the vehicles we will be receiving. With the investment we are making in vehicles, we want to ensure that we have adequate facilities for storage. We also are voting on the purchase of new school bus that will help transport students in our Head Start program and the purchase of a new HVAC equipment for various campuses. Last but certainly important, I want to recount that last month, in order to continue to stay competitive and recruit higher quality of staff, the Board of Trustees approved a compensation plan that increased the teacher's salary to $58,000 as a starting salary. This evening, we are voting on another compensation initiative that will increase the minimum starting pay at Edgewood to $15 per hour. This board, the superintendent, and his administrative team have continuously stressed the importance of supporting not only our students, but our staff as well. And these reconsiderations to our pay structure show that continued commitment. Thank you, Dr. Hernandez, for making bold recommendations that support the well-being of our staff. And thank you to my board colleagues for your continued support in these hiring and recruiting initiatives. It is because of these efforts that all our EISD classrooms had a teacher the first day of class. We need to ensure that as we move our students to the North Star goal in our STAR accountability rating, that we also align our resources to support that work. With that, I'd like to continue to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through J as listed?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve items A through J of the consent agenda.
Mr. Guerra moves.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hernandez seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. I don't see a J. I apologize. Okay, now.
Any discussion? So all those in favor, I'm going to ask you to please raise your hand and say aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
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 If you're opposed, also raise your hand and say nay. We will be raising our hand from now on. Thank you. If there's no questions or comments, we move on to our next, so you pass. The motion passes. If there's no questions or comment, we move on to our adjournment because we will not have a closed session. There is no action to be taken at this time. The time is now 6:53. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Know why that happened?